メンツありますからね。はい、ですからね、今からベイダーがですね、ありますけども、そうですね、一番
Good times, good times. That's what that is some stiff work. And I remember, I mean, this stuff hits home for me. This it goes way back to my day. And back then, it's funny, like when I first got into the business and stuff, and I always liked, working that violent style, that stiff style. We didn't really, it wasn't called hardcore back then, at least in the circles I was in. I didn't even hear that phrase till many, many years later. We did call it working stiff, but basically we called it beating the shit out of each other. That and in seriousness, if you were putting it together, it's putting a match together. It was a case of where you're talking with somebody. It's like, well, let's go out there and just kick the shit out of each other. Let's throw some real shit, and that's what you did, and that's how you worked. And a lot of times, like with these guys, I'm sure it wasn't even discussed. It was just a given. But the whole Hansen Vader, and of course you had to throw Bruiser Brody in there. That's one of the reasons they were so popular in Japan, because as we've talked about, Japan always liked that stiff style, and from what I understand still does. And boy, these guys would bring it. But the night that Hansen popped Vader's eye out, I've got some clips here. You got to be careful with copyright on these. So it's just clipped together of Hansen and Vader working. But it includes when he gets his eye popped out. Let's check this out. There you go. How's that? And now we were just talking about when I was doing that video with the boys and stuff about how you deliver that forearm to keep it safe. That's not how you do it. If you want to keep it work, that's called taking your head off. And here it is. There's the eye, guys. Listen to the crowd. Oh, there we go. Oh, Leon. God damn. And for those of you who don't know, his eye came out and Vader popped it back in, Leon White. I've got two other videos queued up. Stan Hansen talking about the whole thing and Vader talking about the whole thing. But these guys, God damn. These guys worked just to this side of not incapacitating one another to where you couldn't keep working. And a lot of this stuff you'll see is worked really well, and others they're just pounding the shit out of each other like that. Look, those are some heavy forearms. I love watching that kind of work. I really do, you guys. Those were the good old days. And it's not that guys don't work stiff now. They do. It's just this is going back to my era. I remember when Stan Hansen broke Bruno Sammartino's neck, and Bruno Sammartino was absolutely my hero and is still my favorite wrestler of all time. I've seen interviews where he talked about, and this is the angle of it. One of the reasons I sought those interviews out, he had the locker room really pissed at him because Bruno was money. And you had other guys in there. I'm trying to remember who it would have been at the time. Maybe Ernie Ladd, I think, was a top guy. And some others that were really pissed at Hansen because they took Bruno out. They had programs lined up with him, and they were going to make a lot of money. So I think Stan kind of laid low for a little bit after that. And Stan was green in that match. But that's neither here nor there. That's another time. Now, I got a couple videos from the Hannibal TV, which I really enjoy the Hannibal TV. This is Stan talking about and of course I'll put links to these videos in the description. This is Stan talking about the whole thing.
Japan, but they let you go back to New Japan for that famous match with Vader. What was behind that deal?
Stan Hansen just seemed like an enjoyable guy to talk to.
Just your thoughts on that insane match. That's probably one of your most famous matches.
Yeah. Leon. I knew Leon in the AWA.
And now
he was just breaking in. And
well, he mentions it, but Leon White was green at this time. He was, he just said just breaking in.
I guess,
similar to the way Hansen was when he broke Bruno's neck.
For a long time, and we're good friends, I mean, I like Leon, and I think he likes me, and, I mean, we have a part history together.
Chill way of... expressing himself.
You know, he was he was just starting out and everything, and they put me in a couple of matches with him, and you know, I went out there, you know, as a veteran, and in the
did the things he was supposed to do to the greener.
Sounds
that,
in the right direction that the match should have gone.
That's what he's trying to say for any of you who aren't catching it. He was the veteran, Hansen. Vader was green. Yeah, it's time to see what the green guy's made of.
My position, and Leon just starting out, even though he was a huge, big, strong athlete and all these. I mean, a legitimate,
you guys all know
type of guy, you know.
Hannibal TV. But
so anyway, I went out. We had a couple of matches, and he's told me since that he says, you know, I've read where they said there's never been a bigger mismatch in the history of pro wrestling as Stan Hansen and Vader. You know?
See, that's got, I don't care who you are, that's got to hurt your pride a little bit. Even if at the time it was true, and I wouldn't say it was because I've seen big mismatches talent-wise, that's got to hurt.
And I guess it really probably, you know, it hurt him, you know. It hurt him
I'm sure it did.
You know, and so anyway, this match came about. Somehow they had a joint show over there, and they had a match between me and Leon, and you know, and he was wearing this big thing, and
I used to like that gear he'd come out with. I don't know what the hell you called it.
I mean, he was over. I mean, he was over big time, and
yeah, he had that big. Again, I don't know what you call it, but that big set of gear that they gave him to wear over there made him look like a machine.
Anyway, they put us together, and it just, I mean, I knew it
was magic.
Gonna be, you know, big old stiff match, you know, and
big
sure
old
enough,
stiff match.
Yes,
I mean,
he was telling me the story here at WrestleMania just here recently when he introduced me. You know, he was saying that he was walking. He told Inoki that he says, you know, I can't carry this thing on my shoulder and step up there to the.
That did have to be a
ring.
pain in the ass.
Well, why not? And he said, well, Stan Hansen, you know, he's not going to let me walk in here into the ring.
It's Stan Hansen. You know he's going to jump you, before that happens.
With this thing on.
Right.
And,
he's right.
And so he says, well, you know, I'm paying you to wear it or whatever. So anyway, sure enough, as he's coming up, I charge over, and I don't remember, you know, per se, but he was telling me.
I'd watched this interview.
You know, you hit the thing,
prior
the
to
thing
this.
came back.
Broke
my nose right off the bat.
Oh.
He said, you know, the thing hit me in the face and broke my nose.
Excuse me, sorry, guys.
Anyway, he come in, so now he's seeing red, right?
So that's the thing. Now, that's cool getting the backstory of this, because now you know Vader came in already pissed off. So Vader's ready to get good and snug.
Anyway.
And he could do it.
We just pounded the dog out of each other, you know, and it was, you know, and I ended up, you know, I guess it hit him in the eye, and you know, and then he had this mask on too, and he pulled the mask off, and I couldn't see. I could see his eye was, but you know, I couldn't tell because I can't see past here, you know. But anyway,
Stan Hansen always said, and I'm sure he's not lying. I'm sure he has poor vision, but I think he relied on that a little much as far as when he was super stiff with somebody. Oh, I'm sorry, bro, couldn't see you.
So that's how
sounds
it
convenient, doesn't it?
So you just were protecting yourself. He was being really
yeah. I mean, he was pounding on me, and
he,
actually, you know,
if
Mike
you watch that
Tyson
match, he was.
Is that
Buster
the one he
Douglas
lost? Yeah.
the next day.
Yeah.
And so, you know, in the dressing room, or you know, sometime after, you know, Leon said, "Are you going to the fight?" And I said, "No, I'm not going to the fight." And he says, "Shoot, there won't be any punches thrown harder tomorrow
Than
night
what you guys just did right there.
Match tonight, I'm going home."
And you guys outdrew them too, didn't you?
Huh?
Didn't you guys outdraw the Mike Tyson fight?
You know,
You
I
had a
don't
bigger
know.
crowd.
I don't know.
Yeah, Stan's not. See, I really. Now, when I was a kid, as I said, I was a huge San Martino fan. And we're going to hear Vader talk about the incident next. So I hated Stan Hansen. I think I was 13 or 14 when it happened, and you didn't get to see stuff live back then, unless you. Well, I shouldn't say you didn't get to see anything broadcast live back then. So I learned about it in the wrestling magazines, which were my holy grail. And I hated Stan Hansen as a kid because he broke Bruno's neck. Now, the work angle of it was that, of course, he broke his neck with his vicious lariat. I believe the actuality of it was I think he dumped him on his head at one point because I say he was pretty green, but I hated Stan Hansen as a kid. Love him now. I love listening to him talk. He's even in you can see even in that interview what a humble dude he is. But now I've queued up. This is also from Hannibal TV. I've queued up to this part where Vader talks about the eye incident.
For Americans, White. In that time, in that culture in Japan, without question. And
would have loved to talk to him too.
We got after it pretty good, hot and heavy, and somehow Stan's thumb got in my eye.
Laugh.
I'm not going to say, I don't know. He says it was an accident, and I'm taking him as his word, but
that's a class way of putting it. It really is. Because do I believe Stan Hansen was the kind of guy who in the heat of the moment might have popped his eye out on purpose? My personal opinion, yeah. I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying I don't think it would be beyond the pale at all to believe that he might have.
It did pretty serious damage to you, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I want you guys, if you've never heard him talk about this, I want you guys to hear this. I didn't realize how, I guess I should have figured there was extensive damage, but listen to this.
It obviously popped out of your head.
Yeah, it popped out of my head. I had to shove it back in, but
I
had to.
Never had to do that.
Lost like half the vision, and then the eye itself, when it pushed back in, the cord had stretched, so they had to take it back out.
Isn't that
subsequent surgery, and cut the cord and reattach the cord because the cord was too long. So now left. This side would look left, but this one would stay straight ahead. So my eye was lagging, and
I can believe it.
All the bones in my face had to be fused. So all my cheekbone was broken. All this was broken. My whole nose was crushed. So this nostril had to be rebuilt with steel.
Jesus Christ.
Up here, my eyebrow was cracked, had to be fused.
It's all fake.
So pretty extensive surgery, and yeah, it was pretty painful to shove it back in and keep wrestling because
I bet
he kept hitting it. That was obviously it just kept getting hit during the course of the match.
Were you tempted to lose your temper in that match?
Yeah, it came close a few times. You just
were you tempted to lose your? Yeah.
Hey, this
no
is
shit.
Right. And how or whatever he could possibly do, he couldn't justify thumbing me in the eye and doing that kind of damage. So anything I would have done if I hadn't kept myself as a professional, certainly I think would have been justified.
100%.
I think everyone would have said, hey.
100%.
Should just got his eye knocked out.
I can't speak for him, but I would think Stan Hansen would agree with that. I don't think if you play that for him, I think Stan Hansen would say, yeah, anything he did would, at that point, it would have been legit. But you really wonder if he did it on purpose or not, don't you?
Did it ever cross your head to stop the match when that eye first?
Yeah, at the very first, I didn't know if it was gonna. Because I remember I took off the mask and I was walking around the circle with my left hand, keeping him off me, and touching it, seeing if how bad. Because when I shoved it back in, it didn't go all the way back in. It was substantially protruded. If you look at it,
damn,
it was like this is here. It was probably half an eyeball out, but it was kind of half in the socket. So that worried me. I thought if it pops back out, I'll lose it. But what happened?
Yeah, that would worry you.
It swelled over it, even though it wasn't sunk back in, and was holding it in place. And so I felt it, and it felt pretty firm because that swelling was so tight. I thought, well, shit, I'll try it.
That's a true wrestler's wrestler right there. Right with that quote. Well, shit, I'll try it. That's the business. Leon White just summed up the wrestling business in that one sentence. Well, shit, I'll try it. That's because even today, the business is so tough and so unpredictable. you just got to be ready to go with the flow at almost anything. And Leon went with the flow. So what do you guys think? I've just always been fascinated by this whole story. I shouldn't even ask that. There's no way to tell if Stan did it on purpose. I was going to say, what do you guys think? My take on it is it wouldn't surprise me at all if he did. It's cool that Leon's willing to take him at his word that it was an accident, and it very well may have been. But it's Stan Hansen. And we know that Leon was stiffing him first. So, who knows? All I know is it's great storytelling.